Alrighty, let's see what we got here. Guess this was an early one that I must have done at some point. Easy Pascal's triangle given an integer num rows. Return the first num rows of Pascal's triangle. The first num rows of Pascal's triangle. In Pascal's triangle, each number is the sum of the two numbers directly above it as shown. So they want you to return a 2D array where the rows or the elements in the arrays are rows of values from Pascal's triangle. Okay, so this should be, I guess probably should just be a for loop, nested for loop. So let's go ahead and create a answer 2D array, and for every row in the number of rows to be created, answer append. I want to start with just 1 as the first row to get the ball rolling. Maybe I do. So answer is I think this works. I think I can do that. Just a static array with 1. Okay, yeah. So for every row after that, so from 1 to num rows, answer appends, well, let's say the current. So this is kind of the index, maybe. I guess maybe I could also just use the underscore because I'm not planning using that variable. So the row is going to be a list of values, and the list of values depends on the previous row. Always start with 1. They'll always start with 1, end with 1. And you take the sum of the two, so the previous row only has 1 value. Then what would you do? You start with 1 as the starting point, and you end with 1. Okay, yeah, you start with 1 and end with 1. So I'll say row starts with 1, and then for every adjacent pair in the previous value, in the previous row. So I guess that would be for, let's say, k in range of the length of the previous row. So length of the previous row is answer at -1. The length of that -1. So I need an index at k and k plus 1. I think that's right. Row.append the sum of the two values in the previous row at k and k plus 1. So it'd be answer at -1 at k plus answer at -1 at k plus 1. And then I append one final 1 to the row. And then I append this row to the answer. Okay, I think that's correct. Length. Oh, oops, this should be range. Range. Wow, I really butchered this one. Range from 1 to num rows. Yeah, start with just a dummy row because I know that, or not the dummy row, just the first row because I know the answer will have at least 1 row. If it had 0, then maybe I need to do it differently, or I had an empty array. But then if I can have that as the starting point, the values that depend on the previous row, for the next row, the values that depend on the previous row would only be the middle values. So 1 and 1 always is added to the front, added to the back of the row. So row 1, row append 1 after the for loop that goes through consecutive values of the previous row to add them up to append to the current row. Just need to modify the range there to not go out of bounds when you do k and k plus 1. So this is construct a 2D array of values for Pascal's triangle using nested for loop, where outer loop goes through the construction of each row, starting with 1 and ending with 1. And inner for loop goes through outer loop goes to the rows, goes through the inner loop, goes through inner loop, appends the middle value to the row by adding consecutive. I think I misspelled that somehow. Consecutive values of the previous row. Here I just go ahead and instead of keeping track of the previous row using a variable, I just use the -1 index for answer, which gives you the last index, which is the last value, which is the last row in the answer. Time complexity, this is going to be O of n squared, where n is the number of rows. Basically, we'll at some point add each value of the triangle, and there are about n squared values for n rows in Pascal's triangle. I'm pretty sure that's right. Yeah, first is 1, then 2, 3, 4. So you're adding, yeah, it's n squared over 2, more approximately. Space complexity, this is just going to be O of 1, as no additional space is needed